Hi guys, welcome to Pixel Affair. It's Kobe here. So in today's video, we are going to talk about the new Pyro simulation system in Cinema 4D. And in previous videos, before the release of this version of Cinema 4D, I spoke about it coming and my excitement when it came. But I've not actually had enough time to play around with it and everything. So until recently, like I got some few hours yesterday night, and I decided to play around with it a bit to see what or how it looks like, or how the whole thing plays like in Cinema 4D. And within some few minutes, I was actually able to do some really interesting stuff with it, right? Like, and I must say, as a matter of fact, I actually watched this video on YouTube here from Rocket Lasso, which actually did a lot of explanation of some of the settings and some of the things that it does, right? So it was really helpful video for me. And I think you can actually check that one too as well later. But I'll go ahead and also explain a few things that I understand and how I came about or did this cool rocket looking thingy. I mean, even though it might not be accurate, but like I did it in some few minutes, right? Just wanted to see how something like that would be done, and it's really easy. Another thing is that I don't have the best of VRAMs, like just I think 6 gigs or so. So I didn't try to push a lot of things. I just tried to do the basic things for now because I know it can quickly get your RAM full and stuff like that. So yeah, let's actually get into Cinema 4D and see, like, let me explain some of the things that I understand and see how you try and create something like this rocket or spaceship going up like that. So I'm in Cinema 4D 2023.1, and let's go ahead and create our first fire. So all I have to do is to create any object. So I'll probably create a sphere, and I'll make it a little bit smaller, right? And all I have to do is right click, come to simulation tags, and I'll choose Pyro. If I hit play, and see we've generated our first fire, and everything looks easy. But in the object manager, I can see we have this object which has been generated, and it's basically the general settings, right, for the scene, which has been actually generated here, so that we don't have to hit Control D. So if I hit Control D and go to simulation, in this simulation tab, you can see we have the same Pyro thing in here, right? But for you not to probably going back and forth like that, that's why it has been generated. And also, when you want to export certain parts of your simulation, you can actually do that in here, but we'll talk about that one later. So that's basically it. We will later go into the settings a bit later, right? So now we have our fire, and what's happening here, you can see we have fire and smoke. So if I select the tag and come down here, density is what's responsible for the smoke, and temperature is what's responsible for fire. We also have down here fuel, right, which we will also talk about later, and we have velocity as well, right? We'll talk about that one too later. And down here we also have noise. So the noise is the reason why our fire is sort of like moving, generating, right? You can see there's some sort of movement in here generating, and that's because of the noise, right? That's what's basically causing those kind of movements, right? So now, even though we have gravity in the scene, you can see our simulation is going upwards, right? And that's because if I type Control D and go to scene, you can see we have gravity minus, whatever. But and gravity typically is supposed to make things fall down, but in this case it's going up, and that's because all of that is happening in the buoyancy. So if I select the Pyro, object here and come into the settings, you can see down here we have extra forces, and that's because the buoyancy. The density buoyancy is set to -5, and the temperature buoyancy is set to 0.045. So if we want it to go down, for instance, let me actually change the density buoyancy to like say 5, and if I hit play, you can see it's trying to go. Let me actually increase it a bit to like say 100, right? Can see the density buoyancy is actually pushing downwards, right? And now the temperature is actually going upwards. So if we set the temperature to minus as well, let's say -1, and hit play, you can see all of it is basically going down. So that's the reason. I think it's the buoyancy that's actually controlling the movement where it's going, right? So I've reset them back to default, right? But that's not the only place you can actually control the movement or the forces. You can also come into the tag, and down here you can see the velocity. If I open the velocity, you can see the strength of the velocity is set to 100, right? And now we can actually use the velocity to control our fire sim, our sim. So I can change it from set to movement, right? And the set to movement is basically if I hit play and take the object and I'm moving it, you can see the simulation is trying to follow the object, right? If I actually come in, let me come to the set to movement, select the tag and come down to the velocity and set it to, like, say minus 100, right? Now I set to 100, right? I'll just set it to minus 100, and now if I hit play and take the object and move it, you can see now it's trailing, like trailing. It's not moving in the direction, it's actually going backwards. It'll probably be very visible if I animate the object. If I select this one and move it to, let's say, reset it to 0, and let me set a keyframe, right? And maybe at frame 50 I move my object to somewhere here, right? And now if I hit play, you can see our, okay, because there's gravity in it, you can actually, it's trying to push it up. So let's first of all disable the gravity and the buoyancy and everything. So I hit Control D, and I'll make sure the gravity is set to 0, and I'll select the Pyro. I'll come into the Pyro tag in here, and I'll set the buoyancy and everything, extra forces, to 0 for now, for us to see what the velocity is doing. So if I hit play, you can see now my object is moving, but you can see the smoke and the fire is moving, pushing backwards, right? If I hit play again, you can see it's pushing backwards rather. But if I select the tag and set the velocity back to, let's say, the default, which is 100, you'll see the difference. If I hit play, you can see now it's trying to move with the object, right? So that's the velocity, that's what it's doing. But that's not all. You can actually change it from set to movement to, let's say, set absolute. So now you can tell it where it should go. So the first number is X, which is in the X axis. The second number is Y, which is Y axis, and the last one is Z, which is Z axis, right? Now I set to Y axis. So now if we hit play, you can see it's okay. Let's disable our animation. So I'll select the our sphere, hold Control Shift and click and drag to check everything. Now if I hit play, you can see it's pushing it upwards, and that's because the velocity is set to, direction is set to 1, and 1 is 1 in the middle, which is 1 upwards, going upwards. If we set it to minus 1 as well, here you can see it pushes it downwards. And you can also set it to, like, you see 1 on the X, and I'll make this one 0. Right, and see it's pushing it on the side, right? And the same thing applies to the other side, which is this one is the Z. So basically there are several, in fact there are a lot of things that you can actually do in here within the cinema, within the settings of the tag and then the Pyro object as well. Now there's also Voxel, so you can see the simulation is not like as smooth and it's quite blurry and everything, and that's because it's based on the voxel size. So if you want your simulation to be fast and sharp and everything, you definitely have to reduce your voxel size. So now if I reduce the voxel size to like 2, right, and hit play, you can see not much has really changed in here. And that's this, like, basically like for the simulation itself, you know, the voxels that are being generated. But if you want the real quality that will affect your simulation, the quality for your simulation and everything is based on the one in the Pyro setting. So if I select the Pyro object and come to the Pyro tab, you can see there is a voxel size there, and that this one is responsible for the general quality of your simulation. So if I set this one to probably 2, it should look a little bit better, even though it can make it go even further down. But you can see now we have a little bit more details in here. You can even let it go down like 1, and I'll select the tag as well and make it 1, right? And if I hit play, you can see now there's a bit more details, but also it's slowing our scene. And like I've said, I don't have the best of VRAM, so I don't want to push it a lot of things in here. Now another thing is that right now the object that is generating from the surface of our sphere, and now the surface thickness is set to 10 centimeters, right? So I can simply, if I reduce it to like say 5, now it will be closer to the, or smaller and closer to the sphere itself, right? For instance, if I let me actually set it to, in fact, if I select the Pyro tag and come to objects, and I'll show density, probably let me hit play. I want a way to actually show the object, like the thickness of our object, but it's not showing. But basically, it's generating voxels around the shell of your sphere, and now it's within 5 centimeters, like that. The voxels are generated, right? But immediately you uncheck the surface, you uncheck this one, surface emitter. Now it generates from the middle of your sphere, which is the volume. So if I hit play, now you can see it's coming from within our sphere, right? So there are a lot of settings in there that you can actually play around with it, and most of them are quite easy to understand if you actually want to do anything. Now, one thing is that it's also interesting in Cinema 4D. Literally can generate fire from almost every object in Cinema 4D. So for instance, let me disable the sphere, and I can simply bring in like a circle spline, right? I'll make it smaller again, right? And I'll just click and drag the tag, and I'll apply it to the circle. And if I hit play, nothing is happening. And that's because if I select the tag, I've changed it from surface emitter to volume, and obviously spline does not have volume, so I have to make sure it's set to surface emitter. And now if I hit play, you can see it's generating our fire from our splines, right? And even animated. So for instance, it works with something like a trace object. So I can even take the sphere for now, enable the sphere, right click, and I'll add a vibration tag to it to get some animation. Actually, let me enable position and add something small to it. And now if I hit play, let me disable our fire for the sphere. You can see we have something moving, right? So I'll use trace object to trace the sphere so that we get some spline from the trace object. So I'll select the sphere, and I'll come to my mode graph, choose tracer, and the sphere has been added. I'll make sure trace vertices are unchecked, and if I hit play, you can see it's generating this spline for us, right? Maybe I'll choose from N so that it doesn't generate forever, and maybe set to like 18 frames. If I hit play, you can see it's giving us this trail, and even with the tracer we can actually trace it. So all I have to do is to let me also move it from the circle and drag it on the tracer as well. And if I hit play, you can see it's generating this tree which is following our sphere. Let me even make the sphere a little bit smaller, right? You can see it's creating this tree which is following our sphere, and it's really interesting, right? Another thing is we can also use it for like another thing. We can use it on the most spline. So for instance, I have this most spline created here, right? And let's say I want to animate this, make this circle grow on. So I'll select the most spline, and I'll change the mode from simple to spline. And in the spline, I'll drag and drop in the circle as a source. Now you can see we have a circle generated in from the most spline. Now let me drag and drop my Pyro tag on it, and if I hit play, we have our fire generated. Let me hide the sphere. We have our fire generated. Now in this case, I can simply select the most spline for now. Let me disable the fire, and let me sort of animate it. So I'll select the most spline, come into the object, and you can see the end and grow. So I can, at frame 0, I'll set it to, let's say, somewhere here. I even set it to 0, I think. And if I hit play at let's say frame 50, you want it to grow on, right? And if you hit play, it should work. Oh, actually, let me enable our sim. So I'll enable it, and now if I hit play, and see it's generating our fire for us through the most spline. So there's a lot of interesting things that you can actually do, and it works with a lot of things. I mean, unfortunately, it doesn't work directly with Cinema 4D particles. So if I come back here and disable our most spline and come into my simulation and choose emitter, unfortunately, if I hit play, you can see particles, but it doesn't work directly with the emitter. It works, so you probably will have to, I've not really tried it, so you probably, let me enable the sphere, delete the vibrate tag, and I'll apply it to the emitter. All right, I'll select the emitter and I'll say show object, and I don't know if this one will work because I've not tried, but if I apply it to the emitter and hit play, yeah, so you definitely have to let it generate the objects, and now you can see each and every sphere is generating fire. So that's how, if you want to use it with the emitter, this is how you actually use it along with the emitter as well. So there are even with clones, you can use it with clones as well. So there are several things that you can do with the fire, and it works with almost everything, right? So it's really interesting, and I've played around with it. I mean, let's actually get into how I actually used it with the rocket. I wanted to try something, so I decided to do the rockets with it. So let's actually see how I did the rocket. So let's see if we can recreate it again. So I have this free spaceship model which I downloaded from Sketchfab, right? So let's go ahead and see how I used it. This was a quick text though, but let's quickly see how, if we can recreate that thing that I did. So all I did was to, because I wanted the fire to come from the bottom, we could simply select any object or do some selections and use that one to do it. But all I did was to actually create a simple sphere, and I'll make it quite small here, and I'll push it under our spaceship, right? So this is what you are going to use to generate the fire. So maybe I'll set it to, like, say, I think 8 is fine, right? And we don't necessarily, we can hide it in our viewport, I mean the sphere, right? And now if I right click on the sphere, simulation tag, Pyro, and if we hit play, of course it will be going up, and it's hidden under the how do you call it, the ship, right? So first of all, I'll select the sphere, and I'll change it. I want it to emit from the surface, like emit from the volume of the sphere, right? And I don't want it to be going up, I want it to come down. So I'll simply Control D, and I'll first of all go into the simulation, and I'll take off gravity. I'll set it to 0, and let me actually hide the ship. If I hit play, you can see now it's not going up, right? I think that this thing is too small. So let me select my Pyro object, come to the Pyro settings, and I'll set the voxel size to 3 for now. I'll select the tag as well and set it to 3 for now as well. And now if I hit play, now we have enough, but nothing is happening to it, right? Even though there's buoyancy and everything, and it's not moving. So I'll come down here and we use velocity rather. So I'll push it, I'll change the velocity type to set absolute velocity. And now if I hit play, you can see it's moving upwards, but I want it to move downwards. So I'll change it to -1, and I'll probably increase the strength to maybe 400, right? And if I hit play, you can see it's pushing downwards, right? So we are getting somewhere. So if I enable my space ship and hit play, and see it's pushing this thing downwards, and everything is fine. Now one thing I will do is that, like, even though the fire that is coming, if I hit play, the fire that is coming is enough, I think, let me actually change. I'll select the tag, and I'll put it to surface thickness. I'll probably reduce it to like 7, and if I hit play, yeah, I think it's too much. Let me do it 5, right? You can see it's generating enough. And now one thing is that even though the fire, everything is coming down, it's not enough. So I probably want to add a little bit of fuel to it. So I'll come down here and I'll enable fuel to it, right? And if I hit play, I see boom, everything explodes. I like it, but I don't like the way it starts right like that. So first of all, let's create a floor that will collide with our smoke and fire. So I'll create a plane, move it down a bit, and I'll make it huge, a little bit bigger. Right click on it, on this plane, and I'll come down here to simulation tags, and the same collider that works with cloth and ropes and everything is the same thing that works with the Pyro. So I'll choose collider, and now if I hit play, and see it collides with our floor and it's moving away. I like the way it is, but let's work on it a little bit more. So I'll hide the plane for now, and I don't like the plenty fire that it generates, right? All these fires and everything. So I'll select the Pyro tag, come into the object, the Pyro settings, and combustion. That's basically what's responsible for the fuel and everything, right? Because when you add fuel to, like, it sort of explodes, right? So I'll reduce the temperature per fuel so that the fire in it will sort of reduce, right? Because remember, temperature is for fire. So if I hit play, you can see now the fire in it has gone down. You can even reduce it a little bit more, in fact. Pressure, and I'll reduce the pressure to a little bit, maybe 0.3 or 2 pressure per fuel, so that you can see now it's a bit different, right? Yeah, maybe the pressure, we can make the pressure 0.25. So at this point it's just playing around with your sim to eventually feel like it looks good. And now you can see we are having our smoke coming to our camera, right? Also, we can select our spaceship, right click and come to simulation and add a collider tag to the spaceship so that it collides with the spaceship. So actually, let's hit play, take time to generate. Oh, hold on, I don't know, let's go back. I don't know why it's not generating. Is it because, let me delete the tag on the spaceship for now and see. Yeah, I think it's because of the tag, but I don't know, it should work. Maybe, I think the voxel size are too big, so maybe I'll reduce it a little bit to N2 here. Yeah, so I think it's the voxel size, right? But for now, let's delete the collider tag on the spaceship. It should work though, but for now let's delete it, and you can see we have our fire generating and it's moving out and everything, right? That's not how we want it. We don't want it to immediately start with the fuel, right? So what I want to do is I'll keyframe it. One good thing is that we can actually literally keyframe everything that happens here. So I can simply come down here to the fuel and I'll change the fuel type. Now what's happening is that it's generating fuel continuously, so all the time fuel is being generated, right? But we don't want it that. We want it to start within some frame range. So I'll choose frame range, and maybe I want the fire to come a little bit from frame 0 to frame like 10, and then from there the fuel starts coming in. So I'll set the fuel emission from start to 10, and maybe from frame end to maybe 25 or something. And if we hit play, and see now the fuel comes in. In fact, I think the fire that comes out is quite a lot. Let's make our sphere a little bit small, like 5 or something like that. Yeah, something like this will be fine. And now I'll select our tag again and come into the fuel in the frame. I'll increase it to, like, maybe let's start from 15 to 40, right? So if we hit play, and see the fire comes down and boom. Can even add a little bit more energy to the velocity, maybe 500. And now as it comes down, so immediately the fuel comes in. That's when like I'll probably start animating the spaceship. Now I'll make the sphere a child of the spaceship, right, so that it will move with it. So I'll select at frame. Let's say the fire comes and boom. Then so at frame, let's say 25. Our spaceship begins to move up. So I'll select the spaceship, set a keyframe, and maybe somewhere here or there. It moves away to the sky. So let's hit play. Boom. Right. I can see it's moving. Now you can see everything is fine, but the smoke doesn't come close to the camera. So if probably want it to spread a bit more, what I did is actually I forgot to mention, but Sim works with Cinema 4D default forces, right? So the attractors and turbulence and everything, field force, all of them works with our object, with our Pyro object. So I'll use Attractor. So I create an Attractor to push it away. And you see, if I select the Attractor and set it to minus, let's say minus 200, right? And hit play, see instantly it's pushing the whole thing away. But I don't want it to push the whole thing. I just want it to affect just some small portion. So I'll select the Attractor, come to fields, and I'll choose either linear. Let me actually use cylindrical cylinder field, and I'll make it small. Let's actually come to this view here, and I'll move it down here somewhere, right? So when the fire comes in within the cylinder, then it will be affected. So I'll just make this one a little bit bigger in here, right? And anything that falls within there, then it will be pushed outside. So if I hit play now, comes in, you can see now it's spreading it out, right? So now you can use this cylinder field, cylindrical field or cylinder field to do your pushing. So now let me actually increase it a bit more, and I'll select it and maybe come to the cylinder, minus 300, right? Hit play. You can see as it's come down, whole thing moves up and boom. So it's just playing around with it to eventually see what you want. There's so much possibilities with this thing, and it's very, very easy, like Cinema 4D way. All you have to wrap your head around it, and if you visualize something, you can easily create it. My only issue is that it's easily, the VRAM easily gets I don't know, unfortunately or fortunately for me, I never got the pop-up box asking me that telling me that the VRAM is filled up or something, right? But yeah, so you have to work in a way that, you know, it wouldn't affect too much, or it wouldn't be too much on your VRAM and everything. But apart from that, it's really easy to use, and there are several things that you can do, and there are a lot of settings and things in there that you can actually go into. But I mean, I think it will be like a lot. It will be a very long video if I say I'll probably try to explain everything. And I think actually Rocket Lasso did a video which did a lot of explanation in there, and I learned a lot from that particular video as well. So there are a lot of things that you can do with this, and over time I'll actually try and recreate stuff and play around with it to see what the things I can do, and then project by project or stuff by video by video in there, things will be explained a bit further, because there are a lot of settings in there. It can be simple and at the same time can be very, very complicated. So that's basically how you create something like that. And you can see this is crazy, right? A lot of, can see here. So I have the dialog popping up telling me that maximum amount of VRAM allocated, right? So now it will give you that for you to be careful. So there are certain things that you probably can do. For instance, select the Pyro, the Pyro in here, the tree settings, and you can reduce the padding to like say 2, and that one will help for not calculating too much and everything. And you can even coming down here to the threshold and reduce it, you know, play around with the threshold, reduce them a bit. So for instance, the density threshold, if I reduce it to 0, it's set to 0.001, you can make it like less 0.005 or something, so that, you know, it doesn't calculate the smaller details if you don't necessarily want them. So yeah, there's a lot that you can do. Now from here, if you want to render, you probably would need you will need any renderer that will it will be able to render VDB. So in this case, Redshift, Arnold, Octane, all of them should be able to render. I think V-Ray should be able to render. You can render with physical or standard renderer in Cinema 4D, right? And everything that's happening here is actually not in the viewport, so you can actually manipulate it like one way or the other, right? If you wanted to bring it into the viewport, what you have to do is, so that's where we come back into this Pyro object. If you come down here, come to the object, you can see now it's set to export. So if I cache my scene now, everything, it will be cached for you and like save down to your PC, and I can load it in like proper in your scene. But if you want to do something with it, for instance, the density, like from let me enable density, right? You can see some changes has happened in the viewport, and if I select this and move it, you can see, yeah, right? So now it's in my viewport. But this also can slow your scene when you are working. So typically, if you don't need it, don't worry, bringing it in the viewport. All right, you can bring in the temperature as well, and you can move it. So that's something basically how the thing works. So that's why these things are there if you want to bring it in the scene or export it, right? So you can export all of these, the velocity, which you can use to control other objects or for advection and everything, and even rendering motion blur and stuff. There's the flow, the temperature. You can separate it into different phases and all of that. I mean, over time I'll do videos to explain specific stuffs in there, because there are a lot of settings that we can talk about and finish in just one video. And yeah, like I said, Rocket Lasso has a video explaining a lot of the settings in there, which you can later check out on YouTube. Right, it's a very good video, and I learned a lot from it. I think it will be helpful if you can check out that one as well. Thank you for watching, and for now I'll leave it here. All right, later.